This video is next in my series of best travel tips. Today, I'd like to discuss some tips for slow travel and cultural immersion. All right, let's do this. Simon and Garfunkel had it right when they said, "Slow down, you move too fast." As I get older, I'm much more interested in having a true cultural experience and really immersing myself in the local landscape rather than rushing around trying to see and do everything. It's a different type of travel and one I'm definitely moving towards with my a la campagna experiences. Sure, there's something to be said for being in a place and trying to see as much as possible because oftentimes we don't know if we'll be back and so we want to do it now. I can certainly understand this line of thinking, but these days I'm much more interested in seeing fewer places more deeply and intentionally, and staying in one, maybe two locations during a week-long trip rather than moving around every 1 or 2 days in an attempt to see a large part of a country or region over the same period of time. One's ability and willingness to travel like this relies on several factors. First of all, what's the length of your trip? Are you working or retired? How is your health and your walking ability? What's your experience with travel? And what's your budget? Back in 1988, as a young 24-year-old, I just sold my first restaurant, and I decided that before I did anything else, I was going to take a round-the-world trip. It took me 3 full months of planning using a physical atlas, countless trips to the library, and working with local travel agencies and faraway tourist offices, waiting for them to send me physical brochures. Of course, this was back in 1988, and the internet wouldn't be available to the masses for another 5 or 6 years at that point, and there was no Google or other ways to do research online. Cell phones, for the most part, were non-existent, or at least extremely expensive and not very portable, and also not widely available at the time. But back then, I had the time and energy of a young 24-year-old to embark on what would be a 5-month solo trip that took me to countless cities in 15 countries on 5 continents. But of course, I loved it and it was the experience of a lifetime. Fast forward 30 years and today, at least when there's not a pandemic, I'm traveling 8 or 9 months of the year and have become a location-independent digital nomad, which means I'm on the road so much it doesn't even make sense for me to have a permanent home. More than ever though, I appreciate the luxury of being in a place for even a week at a time, but preferably much longer, and immersing myself in that place to become a part of it, at least as much as possible. It's fun to go out and get a shave, have a haircut, get a manicure. I love to visit the local market to go shopping, stop by the same restaurants to get to know the local workers and/or owners of the place. As I wrote the script for this video, I was doing a 3-week house sit in Berlin over the Christmas and New Year holidays. I stayed in a quiet neighborhood well off the tourist track, and I didn't feel at all compelled to be out the door first thing each morning, filling my days with touristy things to do and sights to see. I just wanted to be there and live like a local. I enjoy just being in a neighborhood full of working locals, going to the local grocery store to stock up for the week, walking the area to see what shops are around, and more. I'd hop on the S7 train that is part of Berlin's incredible transportation system, and along with the U-Bahn would whisk me away to any part of the city in less than an hour. My one indulgence had been occasional visits to the wonderful Christmas markets happening at that time of year all over Berlin. Speaking of which, do check out this recent video I made about the Christmas markets in Berlin. And do let me know in the comments what your best tips are for traveling like a local. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to check out my best travel tips playlist. Share it with others and give it a big thumbs up. And remember, drifters, life's too short not to travel.